All right. Good afternoon. So just to recap what we have done so far. So it is safe to say that we are done with Windows Security Plus. We now understand how the Windows security system is. Then we have also learned how to set up the virtual lab, right? And how to install virtual machines, such as the Kali Linux, which happen to be the hacking operating system, and also two different target machines, such as OWASP and the Metasploitable, right? Now we have also learned the basics of Bash and Python, which happen to be our scripting languages or programming languages, which we use or that enable us to navigate within the Kali Linux. Now, the first thing we are going to look at, there is a process as an ethical hacker, or as we practice penetration testing. Remember that we are only mimicking the ways of the what? The black hat hackers. Hope we are still on the same page. Okay, so which means that we are trying to know how these bad internet fraudsters, internet bad guys, how they operate so that organization can refer to us as cybersecurity experts that can be used to intercept their activities or to stop them from breaking into unauthorized system. Now, the way they operate is that once they have learned what you have learned as well, before they start launching attack, one of the first things they do is to remain anonymous. That is on track, untraced. That is masking themselves so that nobody can detect their activities. So if not for that they do, I can assure you that by now, the government of each nation must have what? Apprehended them. But because it is difficult for the government to apprehend these people because of what we are about to learn now that they do. So our today's topic is focused on how to remain anonymous. How to remain anonymous. That is going to be our focus. And this happened to be section 5. If somebody can still remember, section 1 was general introduction to what? Ethical hacking, right? Section 2 was understanding networking fundamentals. I think section 3 was on was it Linus? I think the basic scripting languages put across the third and the fourth section. Now, the fifth section, which is the one we are commencing now, talks about ways to hide your identity on web. So we are looking at how these bad boys, the black hat hackers, usually hide themselves. That is so difficult for the government to trace them. Now, what benefits, what benefits should we as ethical hacking experts should learn this? Can anybody suggest why is it necessary that we also understand or have an idea on how they hide themselves? so that you know how they operate. So that you know how they operate, right? So when you know how they operate, how does that help you? What does that enables you to do? Remember that we are for defensive what? Hacking, right? We are not for offensive. So they are for offensive. Okay, let me hear you, sir. If you know how they operate, you be able to kind of defend you will be able to know how to what? And to defend. I think you are right. I think the major thing is that when you know how they operate, you know how to make sure that you make the system hard for them to go through. That is what we are expected to know. And I want to explain because there are some of them that, remember that we are practicing whatever we are learning within a kind of confined what? Environment, which is the virtual box. So which means that whatever we are doing is not going to be real as if you are hacking a client or someone's system. Because we are going to be practicing with certain virtual machines that we have installed within the safe what environment called the virtual box. Because there are a lot of implications. The law does not permit us. The ethics of cybersecurity does not permit us to practice penetration testing outside what? That perimeter. Because we are for defensive. So while we are going through all this, even though we are not practicalizing it with maybe another authorized person system, what we are expected to know is to have an idea on how they operate so that we can put our system security in what? In order. You are not even supposed to practicalize it with somebody's real life system. But the process we are going through here is enough to tell you how you should ensure the system is what? Secure. All right, except you have an intention of learning it for offensive. That is where you want to make sure that you break into a neighbor system before you can say that you have learned the program. Now, let's quickly look at the overview of this section, where highlighting the expected topic to cover. So in this section, we will be briefly going over a few ways that you can hide your identity on web and maintain your privacy So it is not difficult for us to know why they want to make sure that nobody sees them, because they are for bad purpose. So specifically, we will narrow everything down to privacy and what? Knowing your IP address. If you can still remember from the basic or from the network fundamental, we talk about how system on the internet what communicates, right? How they talk to each other. Can somebody help us to, can somebody still remember what in every system make one system to be visible to another? The IP address. And I told us then the IP address is just like the phone number that we have in our phones, right? You can agree with me that there is no other person that have the exact number that you are using. It is only one part of the world, which I will not mention, that when you leave your SIM for like 6 months, the next time you try using it, you can call somebody and another person from one part can answer you. So what they are trying to do is that they are not properly what? Regulated. They are not really adhering to the instructions. Because if somebody's SIM is dormant, you are not supposed to reactivate it for someone else, but they are trying to economize resources. That is why once they observe that, or they give reasonable time that this person probably, for he or she not to have used it, there's possibility of he or she not using it. All of a sudden, the person will want to use it again. So we are going to talk about Tor browser. You are going to know what is called what? Tor browser. If you are in ethical hacking domain, you will know what is called Tor browser. If you are not in that cycle, you will probably not know what Tor browser is. We also look at AnonSoft. If you are also in ethical hacking domain, you will know what is called what? AnonSoft. All these are ways you can remain what? Anonymous. You don't want to be seen, you don't want to be traced, you don't want to be tracked. So you have to adopt one of these. So this is what those boys does. They will make sure that before they start any malicious operation, they remain what? Unseen. So we are going to also look at using what? VPN, and then public Wi-Fi versus what? Home what? Wi-Fi. And then of course, virtual private server. Digital what? Ocean, that is a website where you can purchase as low as $6 per month. So what we are saying is that if a company engages you, there's possibility of you mandating them to buy things that need to be bought for you to get their system secure. Are we together? All right. So why is it important to remain private? Let's look at that. Why is it important for us to remain private? Why is it important for us to remain private? So privacy can be defined as the state or condition of being free from being observed or disturbed by other people. That is what we refer to as what? Privacy. Privacy can be defined as the state or condition of being free from being what? Observed or disturbed by other people. For our purpose, we may prefer for people to not be able to observe our actions or be able to identify us on the web. That is exactly what the primary aim of the black hat hacker, so that they cannot be observed and their activities cannot be traced. So we are essentially mimicking exactly what an actual black hat hacker will be doing, so that we can find what? Loopholes that can be what? Exploited. The internet is a very public place by default, so you need to take a few steps to remain what? Anonymous. Like I asked some of my students in the past, if you are employed as a company cybersecurity personnel or expert, and while you are there, intruders still able to what? To break into the system. And I ask you, do you think the company will retain you? With your presence, the people are able to what? Or hackers are able to break into the system. Number one, the trust will no longer be there. Right? The trust. They might be thinking that you allow them. And this is exactly what is happening out there with big companies. Most of the malicious attack that happen is as a result of somebody that probably that was inside before, or that is still there, that want to make money in a bad way, and ended up what? Or end up selling the company's what? Sensitive information. So a lot of responsibility comes with this program. To me, it's not everybody that should learn even this program. If I have my way, someone have to develop some certain what? Responsibility, sense of being responsible. Because this program can float you. It can float you. Because it's just like when you say you are learning the ways of the bad boys, you can easily become the bad boy. in the process of trying to know their way, maybe at some point say, wow, you feel excited before you see, you start practicing it. But when you have discipline, you have the code of conduct to yourself. You set a boundary. You will not. So let's look at this. Is just disclaimer that anything that you learn from this section is purely for just educational purpose and is meant to be used for ethical what? Hacking only. And the word ethical means what? Healthy what? Hacking. Hacking that does not trigger any of what? Offense. Legal hacking. So we do not advocate or approve of anyone utilizing these techniques to perform malicious action or against rather any device or network unless given permission to do so. So let's quickly start with how to find your IP address. Finding your IP address. Finding your IP address. Let's start with that. Finding the IP address. So a quick and easy way to find our IP address. A quick and easy way to find our IP address is to simply browse to Google and search my IP address. But if you can still remember, when we were in network fundamental, we talk about this private and what? Public what? IP address. So the one you will get when you type my IP address on Google is going to be what? Public what? IP address. So let's quickly confirm that and see how it works. Open Google and type my IP address. Okay, so let me simply type my IP address, my IP address. My IP address. Let's see how Google will be able to get it from the system. So I'll click on this. What is my IP address? So perfect. So this is what by system what? IP address. IP address. So if I want to check some other information, that is how to simply check your IP address. Okay. Public IP address. So the private one is it most likely?
Where you are not, yes, the private one you can't check it here. You check it from. You can check it from the Linux. Oh, use your command prompts. Yeah? For private. Yes, of course. Once your system comes on the internet, it generates a public address. When it's not on the internet, it generates private address. The internet and you're doing all manner of things. They are tracking you with what? The IP address. So is the reason why we are looking at this topic, because what the bad guys will do, they understand all these things. So they will go and what? Turn them off. Or use Tor browser. That whether they turn the IP address off, when using Tor browser, anything that we call it dark browser elsewhere. So whatever you do with that browser, nobody can trace them, whether your IP address is turned on or not. I hope we are getting it. So we just discover our IP address now. So let's look at VPN sample tunnel. the face. Are we seeing the right one very well? Okay. So a virtual private network is a connection method used to add security and privacy to private and public networks. For instance, like your Wi-Fi hotspots and the internet. So with a VPN, users' initial IP address is replaced with one from the virtual private network provider. This is a service a particular company offers. Once you purchase their software and install it, then automatically every transaction you perform, the real IP address will not be attached to it. So they will hold your real IP address and showcase what the fake one to the public. So which means somebody was arguing that there's a level of crime one can commit and they will commit this company to bring it up. That one I cannot actually say very well. Because I know that they must have assured their customer of their privacy. Because somebody can pay for it. So user can obtain an IP address from any gateway city. The VPN service providers provide, for instance, you may live in San Francisco, not with a virtual private network. You can appear to live in Amsterdam, New York, or any number of gateway cities.
Possible for someone to this platform, like this platform we're talking about, and use someone's IP in place of this one, maybe to give the best.
Use someone's IP address.
I watching those families that just use it. Maybe they want to indicate another organization that the hacking is coming from that side. They will use their IP. Why the people doing it are not even in that location? So what government will see that this thing is coming from so location. But where the happening is very, very, very bad. So the question is, can someone use someone's IP like another person's IP to hack?
The issue is that sometimes tech is very wide domain and the experience differs. What you know is what you can say about. But I see something, I see possibility in that kind of question. I see possibility. Question, I see possibility there where it is possible for someone. But the issue is that except in the case of VPN, because once you are not using that system, you understand, the system IP address is what I will track, not your own. Except I don't know how you are going to be able to do it. But let me not say it's not possible, or let me not say it's possible. You watch that in a film now.
Yes.
And most time the things they use
to add is what somebody must have explained, or what certain people want to do. So let's discuss Tor browser. Tor browser. Remember, we mentioned Tor browser as one of the what? The ways of remaining anonymous. So the Tor browser is a web browser that allows users to browse the web while preventing surveillance and tracking. It achieves this by routing all the requests through 3 other node computers in the Tor ecosystem, effectively using them as proxy. Who's the right?
We talk about the Tor browser. Like I said, I've explained how the Tor browser will ensure that it keeps you anonymous. It also encrypts all of your traffic and the IP address of the destination node each time it processes through a node. So the next thing we are going to look at, we'll start updating and upgrading our Kali for us to start installing most of these tools. So of course, we're going to be writing the code. You know, we did mention that the Kali Linux is the ethical hacking most used operating system, right? And one of the reasons why it's recommended for us because it comes with pre-built ethical hacking functions and tools. But those tools may not be up to date. So there are times that you install, there are times you upgrade, you update. That is the first thing. So let's open our terminal. Let's open our terminal. So I'll enter my terminal password. All right, so from my terminal, let's run this particular code. Make sure you write your syntax. Now you can see that some of this code that will land under bash or bash basic, right? They are surfacing. In bash basic, we were taught what is sudo, right? But when you do sudo apt update, what will happen? It will update, right? You are not actually installing. Probably you have the software installed together with the first time the Kali Linux virtual machine was set up. But due to some of the latest technology or tools that you want to use, those features need to be updated. So that is why. Now, I gave two options here. One is just sudo apt update, and the other one is sudo apt get update. The difference between is this. Look on when you just want to limit the exercise to updating what has been installed, you run this one. But if you want to, for example, you are trying to update and it's not there, it can install it. That is the meaning of what app gets and then update. So the one I would recommend, if you want to really do a comprehensive updating, you use the second one. So in case you couldn't find it, it can what get it. So let's be updating the syntax in our nodes, because as we proceed, we'll be doing all this often. So I go back to my terminal. Make sure that your system is connected to the internet before running any updates or upgrade code, because we are expecting that those updates will be drawn from the server, and the server is not locally in your system. So I'll say sudo. So why are we typing sudo? Sudo is just to acknowledge that what we are the root what user. So this is the first one. The second one, sudo apt-get, then update, not upgrade. So let me change it to update, and then I press enter. Now you can see the moment you put sudo, in case it prompts out a prompt for you to enter a password, the password you use in setting up your Kali, that is the password you are to write. So when you are typing the password, it's not going to be what visible, but just go ahead and make sure that you type the correct. Then you can see the updates is going. So we are going to give it some time. So we give it reasonable time to update. All right, so though it takes time depending on, hope our own is also updated, right? Yours shows what? Done. Did you observe the updates, like just the way mine is?